components, and then we are in the next sessions we are going to see how to install an how to create an Angular project, how to install the applications which it is necessary to create an Angular project. Then we'll see all the description of the folder file structure. Okay, and so my approach will be like 80% of practical and 20 to 30% of theory, because I'm an industry person, and I believe that we should do practical sessions more. Practicals will be like it would be a real life project. Okay, so what we are going to implement the practicals first. I'll be telling you why it is required, where it is required, and what's the theory about it. So did you get my point, or are you okay with this?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right, good. So because my approach is practical because
Yes, sir.
yeah, thank you. So this is practical session. I mean, mostly we are going to see practicals because in industry practice is very much important, and if you learn theory, it's of no use. You should know how to implement that. So if I say create what is a class, you should be able to create a class. Or if I ask you what is interface, you should be able to create an interface. You should know how to use it. All right, if I say how to create a directive, if I ask you the theory of directives, pipes, ng modules, if you read it, you'll know, but you'll don't know how to implement it, how to use it. All right, so that's why my approach will be mostly practical, and I might give you a lot of assignments daily. So I want you to make sure that you complete that assignment. If you don't know, ask me any time of the day. I'll be able to answer you. All right.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So let's see what what Angular is. So it's a well-known, you can say, structural framework for dynamic web apps. So can anyone tell me what is dynamic or static? Have you heard about this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Can anyone explain?
Static
Oh,
means fixed and dynamic means it's variable.
sorry, static means
Fixed.
fixed. Yes, exactly. So the contents of the web apps don't change in static web apps, but in dynamic web apps, the content might change on based on user interaction. For example, let's say Flipkart. You do some orders, right? You do order something, then you add some filters, and sometimes the prices also change on that on the items of the product. So this that kind of web app, you can say it is dynamic. Static means the content of the website does not change. It, for example, let's say a corporate website of a, you can say, of a startup. So they might there is no user interaction in that. Okay, yes, you just visit the website and you just read what the content is. There's no option to change anything over there. So that kind of web apps are like static web apps. So using Angular, you can create both static web apps as well as dynamic web apps. It basically uses HTML as your template language. All right, and using HTML, you can create multiple components. Um, so we'll go. We are going to see what is component, but just to understand, uh, it uses HTML to create components, and based on that, you can create the web apps. So the most interesting thing about Angular is its features. So it provides way more features you can use. So that you can reduce your code and reuse it in your application. So for example, in HTML or in traditional HTML language, suppose you write the 100 lines code and you have to use it in other HTML files. Okay, like so what you have to do in traditional way is that you have to copy paste that code, right? Like for example, you have to use that 100 line codes in 5 pages. All right, so what you have to do is copy paste. So that means you have copy pasted like 500 lines of code, and you have to go ahead and change those things. Again, you have to change it 5 times. But in Angular, what you have to do is you have to write that 100 lines of code once, and you can use it multiple times without copy pasting the same code. And if you have to make changes in that particular code, that will be replicated in other as well. So you don't have to do the rework. Have you understood this much?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So Angular has been around here for more than around 10 years. But if you say Angular 2, so it started around 2015. Basically, for 6 years, they were using Angular 1, which is JavaScript based. And can you tell me what is Angular 2 plus based on? Anyone has any idea? No?
AngularJS.
No, sir.
No. So, okay, good. So there is a huge gap, or you can say huge difference between Angular 1 and 2 plus. Okay, so Angular 1, if you know Angular 1, it is likely to be, you can say you have you might be not able to develop Angular 2 or based on the Angular 1 knowledge. Okay, so that much difference is there because Angular 1 is completely based on JavaScript and Angular 2 plus versions are based on TypeScript. So TypeScript is like a superset of JavaScript. There are multiple JS libraries in market like CoffeeScript, JavaScript, ECMAScript, or Knockout JS. There are multiple JS libraries. So TypeScript is one of that, and this TypeScript is based on your OOPS concepts. I mean, if you know OOPS concepts, can anyone tell me what are the OOPS concepts? What is
Class object.
exactly? So what is the full form of OOPS?
Object-oriented programming language.
Exactly. So you can create classes, you can create objects, you can create methods in TypeScript. All right, so that's the very best feature that Angular has provided. Okay, so you can use TypeScript based code in your Angular project. All right, so like from 2015, there every 6 months or 8 months or 1 year, there is a new version of Angular. Okay, so currently, the latest version of Angular is Angular 12. Okay, and again, in the market, people are working on Angular 13. So you might be able to work on Angular 13 very soon. So did you understand what I mean to say? So what I mean to say is you will be working on the latest technology every time if you are choosing Angular as your front end skill. Okay, because every 6 months there's a new version in market. Okay, so you will be working on the latest technology itself, and you don't have to worry about the knowledge that it might, I mean, all the work you have done, it might change in the next version. No, it won't happen, because the only changes Angular does is some syntax changes, or it adds some feature, it adds some security features so that you can use in your project. All right. So these kind of changes are updated in every version. For example, let's say in Angular uh, 2 there was a difference. Yeah, excuse me. Hello. Okay. So let's say, for example, in Angular 2 there is a different syntax for calling a module. Now in Angular 12 there is a different syntax for calling a module. So only that much is the difference. Okay, and if you go through all the versions, what are the differences, you'll have a better picture. All right. So it has laid the foundation of front-end application development. So alternate,
Sir,
yeah,
sir, which database we will use in Angular?
yeah, that's
Database.
all right. So that's what I'm saying is you can use any database with it, like mostly SQL Server, or you can say any kind of backend is possible. You don't have to worry
Like,
about when you're learning front-end technologies, like for example Angular, you don't have to worry about the backend, like CRUD operations or the database you are using. You don't have to worry about
like
that. Hmm.
MongoDB is used, na?
MongoDB is
Like,
also used. Yeah, MongoDB is also used. Then you can say SQL Server is also used. All right. So
okay, sir.
that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. You don't have to worry about the database or what is in the backend. Okay. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir.
You just have to worry about the front end, like creating the form, okay, creating multiple pages, routing from one page to another, okay, and you don't have to worry about connecting to database because there is a layer between um, your database and your front end technology, which is called an API. Okay, so mostly in huge companies, like so how it works is like there is a different team for, as I said, there is a different team for database, different team for the API development. Does anyone know what is an API?
No, sir.
So it's an application programming interface. So you can say it's an gateway to your database. Okay. Um, so our API does all the operations. There is a backend team also called as an API team. So they create an API. Okay. It does not have your UI. It's a different application and it runs on a different server. Okay. So you don't have to worry about that. And API team does all the backend coding like CRUD operations or your SQL server thing. I mean, stored procedures. So all these things are done by the backend team. If you don't have the technical knowledge like mm, writing a database query or writing a link query or just writing some complex operations. If you don't have that technical knowledge, it's okay. Those things are done by the backend team. All right. If you are working on front end technologies, make sure that you do your you do your job good in developing user interfaces. Okay, I'll explain you it further in by showing you an example. So don't worry about that. All right. So what was the next point? Yeah, as I said, there are multiple updates and adjustments by then, and it is not done by the creator of Angular. It's done by a huge community worldwide. I mean, for example, if you also are an expert in Angular to the Angular updates or its features, even you can do that. Okay. All right. So if you want to work in Angular, or if you want to use your Angular in your project, so you have to choose either of its one version, either AngularJS, okay, or other means whichever the latest version there is in market. It is developed and maintained by Google. Okay. Any questions about the introduction?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, so just give me a minute. I'll just open an example and show it for you. Okay. Let me share my screen. Let me know if it's visible. Is it visible yet?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what I have opened is an API. It is my ASP.NET Web API project. Okay, and I have opened it in Visual Studio, Microsoft Visual Studio. All right. So what it contains is there are some controllers. Okay, controllers are there, and this part of code is called an API. Okay, this part of code is called, wherever the routing is, you see route. This is an API. This is an API. This is an API. There are multiple APIs in this controller. So overall, this project is called an web API. So what it will do is it will provide you the data. So UI will request data to your API, and API will do the all the operation or do the business logic. It will connect to the database, and then this will give you whatever you want. And now let me show you your content project. Now this is your Angular project which I have used in, or which I have opened in my Microsoft Visual Studio Code. So it's a code editor. All right. And whatever we are going to develop here on, we are going to use this software or this editor, which is called as Microsoft Visual Studio Code. And let me run this. So as you have observed, these are all different projects. Okay, using different softwares, and you can say basically completely different logic. So I have to run this project. Now I'll run the backend project. So did you understand the basic concept, how it works? Anyone? I mean, at least 20-30% have you understood?
सर
Hmm.
VS कोड से रन नहीं कर सकते क्या?
We can run this VS Code, but it requires another some set of application or packages to install, and then we can run it from VS Code as well. But it is not suggested because it's an editor. VS Code is just an editor, but we cannot develop anything .NET in here. It becomes very difficult to develop here in VS Code.
Okay,
So
sir.
this is just an example. So you can say it's a dummy API. But it's a real life project. Okay, but for you, you don't have to use it. All right, and we are not going to look into ASP.NET. We are going to focus on front end. So I'm going to teach you how to create a project, how to create components, okay, and how to create services, how to connect to an API, get data, and how to show it in your front end UI. Then so basically, which we require in an industry for a software. For example, let's say how to design a form. Okay. Now, so this is my can you tell me? Okay, this is running on a local server with port 60067. This is my backend API, which does not have any user interface. And now this is Angular project, which is run in VS Code and which is running on port 4200. So as you have observed, there are two different projects which runs on different server. All right. So this was the basic example of how to connect to what is UI or what is API. Any questions up till now? No questions, or you have any doubts regarding what will be the syllabus is or anything else?
Yes, sir. Only those we see.
Sorry.
Only those we will see. Means express and जो मेन स्टैक में है ना एक्सप्रेस JS एंड एट ऑल नोड JS वो भी हम इसमें देखेंगे ना क्या सिर्फ एंगुलर फ्रंट एंड ही है इसमें.
So right now we'll just focus on front end. There will be other models for Node.js, Express.js. So that Rupali will tell you.
Okay.
You don't have to worry about the syllabus and all those things. So my intent was to tell you what I'll be teaching you in Angular. It's not just PPT and theories. All right. So it will be actual practical. Like for tomorrow, I'll be telling you to create a project. Day after that, I'll be telling you to create a framework. Like framework means Angular project with a proper folder structure, like which you have to follow when you join the companies in future. Then again, the next day I'll be telling you to create components. I'll be telling you to create directives, pipes, and modules, and then I'll be telling you to create services. Uh, so those things will be there, which you have to create. I'll be guiding you, or I'll be creating we'll be creating a project or an all together. So let's say, for example, if we create a project, so one module will have theoretical theory about directives. Then the next day, you create some, you'll be creating practicals of how to create a pipe, and then that module will comprise of different types of pipes. Then the next day we will be creating services. So that particular module will be comprising of all the services. So these things will happen. So do you have any doubt about Angular? Or do you have any questions about why we use Angular and why it is important? So those kind of thoughts you must be having. So you can ask me. Suyok?
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
हमें ये थोड़ा टाइप स्क्रिप्ट का नॉलेज चाहिए या नहीं?
तो एक एग्जांपल बताता हूँ मैं, ठीक है? So this is your TypeScript code. So do you know what this is? And what kind of code this is?
No, sir.
This is basically imports. कभी ये एप्लीकेशन में इंपोर्ट किया है?
नो सर कुछ नहीं सर बिगिनर के तौर पे हम कुछ नहीं किया है सर मतलब
Okay, so I'll just show you what the code is like. So this is import. So if you have to use something below, you have to import it first. For example, let's say component. Component यहाँ पे यूज किया है, तो हमने import किया है. On init हमने यहाँ पे यूज किया है, तो इसको import किया है. होस्ट लिस्टनर का ही तो यूज किया है नीचे यहाँ पे, so हमने इसको इंपोर्ट किया है. So basically this part of code in TypeScript is your imports. Next, what is this part of code?
export.
No, this is a class. Okay, class यहाँ पे खत्म होता है. Okay, so this is your class, and inside this you will be doing all the operations. All right, so next is let's say this part of code. What is this? Can anyone tell what part of code or what it is called?
Variables.
Exactly. So these are all variables, arrays.
Data
So you have
types.
to, yeah, so with data types. So this part of code, as you can say, see, we have to use it below, so we have to declare it here, or you can say define it here. All right. Now, what is this?
Method constructor.
Yeah, it's a constructor. Okay. So you must be heard about it is same as the class name, right? Have you heard about a constructor in your college or when you are learning C++ or Java?
Yes, sir.
So it's the same concept. Now, can you tell me what is this part of code?
This is a method, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Function
you
है
know
सर
TypeScript, right? Nothing else is there in this. If you know this much, that what is class, what is method, how to declare a variable, or what is a variable or what is an array, that much is enough. I'll guide you through how to use this variables and how to call methods, right? Only variables and methods are there in this, and class is there, nothing else. And then interfaces as well. All right, so It was a very nice question. Uh, anything else? Any doubts? Yes, Pramodi.
No, sir.
Okay, who else is there? Asmita. Asmita is from commerce background, right?
Yes, sir.
So, did you
Yes,
find
sir.
very difficult up till now what we have seen or what we are going to learn?
No, sir. I just need to revise a bit.
Yeah, please revise
That's
your
it.
OOPS concept. I don't mind if you don't know, if you don't learn HTML or CSS, but at least you should know all the OOPS concept, how to create a array or what are objects, what are methods. Okay, so I'll just show you what our previous batch student have created.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, in company there is any compulsion of use Angular version?
So there are two things. Is it a old project or we are going to create something new? So if it's an old project and you have joined in middle, so there is a chance that you have to work on older versions. For example, that project is there from 2 years. So 2 years the version before 2 years the latest version was Angular 7. Okay. Can you mute Pramodi?
Yes,
Please
sir.
explain. Yeah. Okay. So so let's say that project was from 2 years and that before 2 years the latest version was suppose Angular 7 or 8. So you might have to work if you join in between. So for example, if you join now, there is a chance that you have to work on Angular 7 only or 7 or 8, whichever the version is there. Okay. And if they ask you to upgrade it to latest version, you can do it. Okay. But now if you are creating a new project, all right, if you are asked to create a new project in the company, there is always a chance that I mean, there is always a chance to work on the latest version because the company always prefer you to work on latest version, whichever is then there is in the market. So, for example, you have just started a project today, and in next 1 month there is an upgrade in Angular. There is an upgrade in the Angular version. So there is a 100% or 90% chance that you can upgrade your project immediately because you are in just the starting phase of the project. All right, and it is always recommended to work on the latest version. You don't have to. There is no choice you can say to choose older versions. Understood my question? I mean,
Yes, sir.
understood my answer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Anything else? We have some time, so you can ask questions. Any silly questions is fine. Yes, Asmita. Okay, so let me show you what basically we are going to do. So this is your Angular project. Okay, there will be login page, register page. This is my version of you can say application, but the students have created really good applications. All right, so this will be login. So this you can say this is type of menu, and this the list you can see is all the modules that we are going to learn. So we are going to learn about TypeScript, what TypeScript is. We are going to filter array, play with array. what the array is, and then we are going to do some operations like delete, add, all those things, then copy. So all the few of the functions of TypeScript we are going to see. Then we are going to see what are pipes. Okay. Then copy array, all those things we are going to learn. We are going to see directives, what are directives. Then what is data binding, examples of data binding. Then we are going to see what is material UI, what is flex layout. Then the services like, let's say, let me run. So I'll also show you. Hmm. So I just connected this to a dummy data, dummy JSON server, so that I can get some data. Now, once I refresh it, you'll see the records. Got it? So these records are coming from this dummy server that we have created. So this is the server that we are getting some data and we are showing it here. Also, we can add some of our own. Let's say, hmm. So this kind of things we actually do in the companies, right? Add new employees, show some employees. So I've added it. Now the next, you can see that the new data is here as well as on the server once I refresh it. Okay, so I'll tell you what is JSON, how to create JSON data, then what is flex layout, then observables, promises, how to create libraries. So this kind of things we are going to learn. Yeah. And I'll just show you what the Angular project looks like. So it looks like too much, but don't worry. There are too many files in this right now. Same might happen to you because you might not be knowing which file is which one and where is your actual file, all those things. So the structure is huge. It is at first it is very difficult to be honest, it is very difficult to understand the structure of the project. Where is which file we have to keep where, how to access the file, and how to internally, programmatically structure the files. So at start, it is very difficult to understand, but don't worry, we are going to see that. So you don't have to worry about the structure. All right. So anything else?